I think the transition has been fairly smooth. It's been, I'll say, seamless, simply because it essentially works the same way as dualX does. The advantage, again, let's talk about what problem does it solve, and every T-lift surgeon, or every surgeon who's done T-lift and done a fair number of them, you always run into, again, that same problem. I need to get as big of a cage as I can, but the aperture for getting that cage in can be very challenging. That's one of the major challenges is how do I get the cage size that I want or need without damaging the traversing or the exiting nerve root. And that's something that even in 20 years of practice, I still get anxious over, is at that moment when you put that implant in. So with the advent of Slim, it's essentially eliminated that point of stress. Again, I'm trying to get a big device in with height, lordosis, and footprint. Given how the dualX works, the Slim works exactly the same way. In fact, probably had you not told me for the first two cases, I may not even have noticed. But I did notice simply because if you look and you say, wow, I don't need to retract nearly as hard on either the dura or traversing or exiting nerve root. In fact, for my endoscopic T-lifts that I've used it for, instead of using the traditional, I call it the sled, but a special retractor that we use for that. It works effectively. That's a great device, and I've not had a problem. But again, there is that moment of anxiety when you're trying to put the cage in, and you still in the back of your head are always wondering, geez, did I get the nerve root? I hope the nerve root's okay. And so being able to use simply a nerve root retractor on the traversing nerve root and to be able to see the entirety of the cage. Now you're doing it with the scope, so you can look around it, right? We use a 30-degree scope mostly here in the United States, and so you can use a 30-degree scope and look directly at the traversing nerve root. You can turn it around, sort of go around the corner, look at the exiting nerve root, and you can just keep tapping it. In fact, in my OR, I hold the camera and the nerve root retractor, and my assistant is the one who actually taps. That's sort of the, if you think about the critical portion of the case, isn't tapping the back of the inserter with a mallet. I think anybody can do that. The real critical part of the case is holding protecting the neural elements and watching it go in. And again, another advantage of Slim is because it's narrow, it's easier to look around. Imagine being at a baseball game, you get the seats that sits behind the big poles, right? Like if that pole was much smaller, it wouldn't be an issue because you could look right around it and watch the entire game. So I think that Slim has changed at least the way I feel, during cage insertion. It makes it, you are much more sure about the safety of your neural elements. And then when you deploy it, it essentially deploys the same. If you've done your proper disc prep and you've gone through all your checkpoints in terms of ensuring that the cage will go in, it basically goes in the same, very smooth, very straightforward.